Today on the Frontline Health Podcast.
But there definitely seems to be more ticks out there and more tick exposure, and is top of mind for a lot of people.
Really just a lot of fear around this topic, and we always love to give people things that are practical to hopefully ease that fear.
And I think that's the most important thing. We're not going to get away from ticks. Ticks will always be here. So what can we do to prevent our exposure to them and keep us from falling prey to alpha-gal or Lyme disease or any of the other tick-borne diseases that are out there?
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Frontline Health Podcast by Centurion Health, where we share health news, tips, and insights to help you take ownership of your health. My name is Evan Patrick, and with me, as always, Troy Dole, founder and CEO of Centurion Health, is here to help us break down some interesting headlines that we have heard over the past month or so. We're doing another round of health headline highlights, talking about everything from sports nutrition to ticks to Ebola outbreaks going on around the world, and even more than that. How are you doing today, Troy?
Good, Evan. How are you, man? Excited to be here, and hard to believe we're already on another month of health headlines.
I know, and it just seems like as the months go by, more and more things just come up, and so we've got a lot to talk about today.
We do, and it was kind of interesting because we've heard a lot about seed oils and kind of the issues with them, and we've even talked about it on this podcast some. And our first headline was talking about the Titans' new head coach. It says Titans Robert Saleh, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but sparks nutritional value debate with seed oil ban in the players' team provided meals. So their head coach and team leadership actually went in, removed seed oils and processed foods from all their players' meals as part of a broader nutritional overhaul, which is really, really interesting because I think it is further confirmation that even these elite athletes are starting to understand that seed oils and processed foods are really starting to take a toll on their bodies, and it's going to increase inflammation and decrease the recovery or increase recovery time for each of them as well. But they replaced common cooking oils with olive and avocado oil, and they really went after minimally processed foods. So they felt like having that cleaner nutrition was going to improve player health, performance, and recovery as a whole, which I think is absolutely amazing and a great example to start setting, hopefully, for the rest of us.
Yeah, the NFL has come a long way from the days of Marshawn Lynch on the sidelines eating Skittles like between plays. It's so funny when you look back on stuff like that, like an elite running back in the NFL who, I don't know, maybe that was just a personal preference for him, just something he liked doing. That's probably more in line with what was going on. But elite, to think that elite athletes would not have the most nutrient dense, clean food. That really shows that we have come a long way in just understanding how important this is just for overall health and performance.
Absolutely. I still remember when I was on the training staff at Alabama, there would be these college athletes coming in and they were eating McDonald's or Wendy's or Burger King or Taco Bell. And you just sat back and you went, that's crazy. They're feeding their body these things that we know are not good for them. But we didn't think as much of it then as we probably do now, because we've begun to understand the impact. You're basically putting sugar in a gas tank for your car. You're doing the same thing with these type of foods, and I think it's a great step in the right direction if we really want to become even more elite, and these individuals want to become better athletes. I think it's a great step in the right direction.
Yeah, for sure. It reminds me also of a lot of the things that our health secretary has been trying to do when it comes to like our military and making, the food that's served on different bases more nutrient dense and that kind of thing. So yeah, really cool to see people who are trying to get the most out of their performance and out of their bodies, really relying on food and nutrition to do that. And it'll obviously bring more awareness to the importance of that for college athletes, high school athletes. And really for all of us, because we all have our eyes, or at least a lot of us have our eyes on professional sports.
That's right. Maybe not that many eyes on the Tennessee Titans, but that's a story for another day.
Well, I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, so not much room to talk there. A lot of eyes
That's
on us, but not much respect currently.
correct. Correct.
Our next health headline: Tick tactics, effective strategies to keep ticks away. Expert-backed strategies to avoid tick bites this season, from repellents and clothing to essential oils and tick checks. So, obviously, this is something that's on a lot of people's minds right now as we hear just about things like the Lone Star tick and alpha gal. We're going to have another podcast episode coming out really soon talking about that. So excited to dive further into that topic. But if you're just looking for a few simple tips and strategies to keep the ticks away, we've got a few that we saw in this article. It notes that tick-borne illnesses are rising rapidly, but experts say that simple prevention strategies like wearing protective clothing, using repellents, and doing thorough tick checks can significantly reduce risk. Effective repellents include DEET, picaridin, permethrin, and certain essential oils such as lemon eucalyptus, though each comes with different benefits and safety considerations. Experts are recommending showering after outdoor exposure, carefully checking the body for ticks, and drying clothes on high heat to prevent ticks from attaching or surviving indoors. And Troy, I've got to ask because you were just telling me about a lot of yard work that you were doing. It's almost hard to call what you described as even yard work because I don't think that does it justice. But you had a large number of trees on your property that you were running through the wood chipper. Did you have to check yourself for ticks after doing all of that?
I definitely checked, but there wasn't a lot of high grass around, so it wasn't a big concern of mine. But I definitely was checking. Now my son actually just went on the Appalachian Trail with a friend, and he said they got done with the day, and his friend, because he didn't have any tick spray on him, had about 8 to 10 ticks that he had to pull off of him. So there's definitely this. It seems like, I don't know if it's the warm weather or what has happened, but there definitely seems to be more ticks out there and more tick exposure, and is top of mind for a lot of people. So that's why that article certainly jumped out at us when we were talking about it.
Yeah, and really
Our
just
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, really, just a lot of fear around this topic, and we always love to give people things that are practical to hopefully, ease that fear. And not that it's bad to have a healthy concern. Obviously, we're giving strategies for avoiding this, but really gives people something practical that they can do to make sure that they're taking care of what they need to take care of, and yeah, just having peace knowing that they can do what they can do.
That's right, and I think that's the most important thing. We're not going to get away from ticks. Ticks will always be here. So, what can we do to prevent our exposure to them and keep us from falling prey to alpha gal or Lyme disease or any of the other tick-borne diseases that are out there? Speaking of diseases, our next headline has certainly been taking big headlines across the country and across the world. It's Ebola outbreak spreading faster than response, an aid group says. The World Health Organization's Director General also said the epidemic is outpacing us. So there are aid groups that warned the Ebola outbreak in Central Africa is spreading faster than those response efforts, and it's starting to raise some fears that it could become one of the deadliest outbreaks in history of Ebola itself. The virus has started to expand just beyond the northeastern Congo into Uganda, and there have been more and more issues with being able to contaminate or to contain it because of some of the displacement of individuals, some of the conflicts that are going on, and not the best detection that's out there. And because of that, it's creating probably a lot of fear. And that's where I think our follow up headline to that was a really strong headline for me because it talks similar to what we just discussed. We don't want to be about fear mongering. We want to be about what are some practical ways to really start stepping into that. And the headline was, yes, Ebola virus is deadly, but here's why you don't need to worry. Ebola is different from COVID in many ways. And what it talks about in this article is that Ebola is a highly deadly but unlikely to spread, kind of like COVID-19 did, because it spreads through direct contact with bodily fluids rather than airborne particles. Meaning, if you're on a plane and somebody else has Ebola, unless they spit on you and you swallow that spit or you come in contact with their blood, there's not as great of a likelihood of that spreading and transmitting to somebody else. Most outbreaks are certainly localized just in Africa right now due to those transmission patterns, and because their funeral practices and rural exposure is infecting animals. That's why they're having more of a spread of it in those countries than we would say in the West. And really, what it seemed to jump on was that delayed detection and limited resources. And that seems to be the biggest issue with this international outbreak, and not something that we need to overly concern ourselves with. Certainly, we need to keep our eyes on it. We need to be praying for these individuals in these areas and helping them any way we can, but not something that we need to fear like we did with COVID.
Yeah, I think it was maybe 2014 or 2015, the last time that we heard major concerns over an Ebola outbreak like this. I remember being in high school and, I was, I think in my junior year, and we were doing like research projects for school on current events and being freaked out by hearing these stories of an Ebola outbreak and just thinking that it was going to be a big deal, especially because during that time, several people who had gotten infected with Ebola actually came back to the United States, and
Yeah.
people were thinking it was going to be this big global pandemic. But as it turned out, it really did not spread to many Americans after that, and it was kind of squashed here. Unfortunately, like you said, it's devastating for a lot of these communities in Africa where they are struggling with this, and it's a big, big deal for them. And hopefully, they will be able to handle it and get the help that and support that those communities need to be able to ease this outbreak. But really, for like you said, for those of us in the West, it's really not as big of a concern as some of the news headlines might want to make it out to be.
Absolutely. And most interesting thing was this weekend, I actually got several texts from some friends. They were like, hey, you need to go get more toilet paper. And there's going to be a run on bread and toilet paper and everything else because apparently a hospital about 45 minutes away from us had an Ebola patient come in. And they were concerned that it was going to create fear and pandemonium and that people would make a run on toilet paper and we would be in lockdown again. But that ended up being not the case, that it was not a true patient who had Ebola. And even if it was, it's not something that we need to concern ourselves with at that point, because I think we've got great containment measurements and practices that we put in place here that aren't done overseas in Africa.
Well, our final health headline to end things on a very bright note, and one that always makes me smile because I will die on the hill that eggs truly are a superfood. The headline is an
Agreed.
egg a week may lower Alzheimer's risk. And the subtitle is Could Breakfast Be Your Medicine? Research suggests that eating at least one egg per week may help lower Alzheimer's risk, potentially due to nutrients like choline, which we've talked about a lot on this
Mhm.
podcast, lutein, and omega-3 fatty acids that support brain health. Experts say choline is especially important because it helps produce acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter essential for memory and cognition. And eggs may also benefit brain function because they combine nutrients that work together to protect brain cells, reduce inflammation, and support cognitive performance. So once again, confirmation, eggs are not the bad guy as they have sometimes been painted to be when it comes to concerns about cholesterol and things like that. They may actually be a food that you can eat that can help protect your brain health long term.
Yeah, I think it goes back to that old commercial, The Incredible Edible Egg. I don't know if you ever remember that, but growing up,
I
that
do
was one
not.
of the things. One of the things we always heard was it was the incredible edible egg, and then it went through the whole cholesterol issue, and it got a bad rap. But the good news is, I eat more than one egg per week. I eat probably more than one egg per day, so that's good for me. Maybe bad for my wife, but all good for me.
So we have actually I eat 4 eggs a day now. I
That's
have
good.
yeah, I eat 4 eggs a day, and we have actually had to start buying the 30 count egg cartons from the grocery store when we go because we eat so many eggs in our household. So thankfully egg prices are not as high as they were just not too long ago, and we can get a steady supply of nutritious eggs.
Yeah, you may want to go to become a member at Costco because they sell the 60 organic eggs in
Oh
a
my
60
goodness.
count. Yeah. So there's your next one.
Well, I didn't know about this. I've recommended to my wife that maybe we get some chickens and have our own egg production going, but she says that I don't think that we could even have enough chickens to keep up with the number of eggs that we eat.
You could probably do that. You could probably do it. Just 10 chickens would probably get you going. So
Well,
that'd be good.
that may be more than she's willing to take on.
No roosters, just chickens. The
That's
question is,
it.
will the neighborhood allow you to have chickens? So
Our current neighborhood, probably not, but
okay.
maybe something for the future. You have chickens at your house, don't you?
I have 10 chickens. I had 14. A few of them have suffered a poor result of a run-in with a raccoon or a possum.
No.
And I have 2 roosters. So I only have 8 hen-laying chickens right now. So we get probably 4 to 6 eggs a day. Is how many we're getting right now.
Amazing. Well, good deal. Great health headlines today. Hopefully that they were informative to our listeners. Do you have anything else to leave everyone with today, Troy?
I don't think I've got a thing. Just thanks for joining us.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us on this episode of the Frontline Health Podcast by Centurion Health. As always, we want to encourage you, go out and take ownership of your health because you are your best health advocate. See you next time.
If you enjoyed what you heard today on the podcast, please consider subscribing and leaving us a review. We would love to hear your comments or questions about anything we've talked about on the show. For more health news, tips, and insights, follow us at Centurion Health on Instagram, Facebook, X, and YouTube. And for safe, effective, and affordable healthcare products made in the USA to help you elevate your health and life, visit centurion.health. We look forward to you joining us next time on the Frontline Health Podcast by Centurion.